Hello and welcome to 1-9. Today we're going to be talking about problem solving. We're going to talk about using the 4-step plan to solve some trickier problems here. I would really like it if you would write this graphic into your notebook. So please do that. It's going to be really helpful for you when you come to class tomorrow. So pause the video and write this in. And then we're going to practice it on the next slides. Okay, so Hector spent $61 on some sandpaper for his model cars. He bought 2 packages of the smallest grain sandpaper and spent the rest on the largest grain sandpaper. Okay, how many packages of the largest grain sandpaper did he buy? Okay, so what? Now that's kind of like a trickier question, right? It's not something that you can just look at and say, okay, I'm going to do 61 times 2, or I'm going to do, subtract them or whatever. This is trickier, so we really have to think about what are we going to do to solve it. So we are going to practice our strategy we've got here. So first it says we need to understand what facts do we know. A total of how much money was spent, well that's $61. Okay, and blank packages of the smallest grain sandpaper were purchased. We know he bought 2 packages of the smallest grain sandpaper, okay? So then we ask ourselves, what do we need to find? So really, you guys, let me go back to what facts do you need to know? Like we have this whole thing. Do we really need to know that he bought sandpaper for his model cars? Do we need to know that in order to solve the math problem? No. Okay, so we're trying to get rid of the excess information, so we're only looking at what we need. Okay, and the information that was given to us is the $61 spent, and he bought 2 packages. Okay, so then the question is, what do we need to find? We need to find the number of packages of the largest grain sandpaper that he bought. So we know how many small, we need to know how many large did he buy. All right, so that was step 1 is understanding the problem. What do we need to know and what do we need to find? And now we have to make a plan. So what our plan is going to be is I'm going to work backwards because that's what I'm going to have to do to solve this problem. Okay, your plan might be, okay, I need to subtract this. Okay, I need to first find out how much that was and then I'll add into this. Like you're just kind of saying what steps you're going to take to solve it. And then finally we're going to solve. So the smallest size is 1/1000th of a centimeter. And Victor spent 2 times 20 because it was $20 per package. Or we could say he spent $40 on smallest grain sandpaper. Okay, so then we need to subtract to find the remaining amount spent. So I have 61 minus 40, which would give me $21. I'm going to put my $ in there. Okay, so the largest size is 11/1000ths of a centimeter. Each package costs $7. We need to divide that. All right, so I'm going to do 21 divided by 7, and really that's kind of a fact. We don't really need to write it out like this. I know that 7 times 3 is 21. So he bought 3 packages of the largest green sandpaper. So there was step 2. We had to plan how we were going to solve it, and then we solve. And then lastly, we jump to step 4. And step 4 says we need to check, does our answer make sense? And then we need to explain it. And we're going to say, does our answer make sense? I'm just going to write it down here. Yes, because I'm going to say if I take 2 times $20 and then I add in 3 times $7, I get to $61. So we're just kind of taking a second step to step back and say, does it really make sense? Yes, because 2 times $20 is $40. 3 times 7 is $21, and 40 plus 21 equals 61. That checks out. Yes, it makes sense. So let's kind of do it on our own here. Okay, so here we have Louisa. She bought a roll of ribbon. She used 34 inches on each of 2 gifts. Then she used 13 inches on a scrapbook page. There are 39 inches left. How many inches did she start with? Okay, so we kind of know a lot here. We know Louisa used 34 inches on 2 gifts. And we know that she used 13 inches on a scrapbook page. We also know that there are 39 inches of ribbon left. So we want to make sure we write down all the information we know, and that is all the stuff that we need to know. So then we need to ask ourselves, well, what do we need to find? And what we need to find is the number of inches of ribbon Louisa started with. So I'm just going to say how much ribbon did Louisa start with. All right, so we have our understand phase down. We know that she used 34 on 2 gifts. She had used 13 inches on a scrapbook page, and there are 39 inches left. Okay, so now we have to go to the next step, which is plan. All right, so to plan, I think we can solve the problem by starting with what she had left and then add the other amount of ribbon that she used to it. So that's what I'm going to do for my plan. All right, let me say that one more time. I can solve the problem by starting with what she had left, the 39 inches, and then add the other amounts of ribbon to it. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to start with taking 39. I need to add to it 13. Okay, because she used 13 inches on a scrapbook. And then I need to add 2 34s to it. And that's going to give me my total. So 2 times 34. I'm going to take 34 times 2. I'm going to do 4 times 2 is 8. 2 times 3 is 6. So that gets me to 68. I'm going to bring everything down. Now, please don't get stuck up on, oh, I'm not writing it with parentheses. I'm not writing it a fancy way. Mrs. Hamer, I just did 34 plus 34, not 2 times 34. Okay, it doesn't really matter. You just have to be able to write out what you're going to do to solve it. Okay, so let's take 68. Let's do 39 plus 13. 9 and 3, it makes 12. 3, 4, 5. So then I'm going to do 68 plus 52. Okay, that's going to make a 10. 6 and 5 makes 11, and 1 more makes 12. So she started with 120 inches of ribbon. So that's what she started with. Is our answer reasonable? Okay, let's see. If I start with 120 and I subtract 2 times 34, this is times 2 times 34, and then I subtract 13, am I left with 39? Well, let's see. 2 times 34 is 68. Minus 13, and really, okay, so then I would have to do 120 minus 68, and I would get 52, minus 13 is going to get me to 39. That does make sense, and it checks out, so I'm good to go. All right, so like I said before, we just want to make sure we're answering each step along the way. Even if you read the question, you can answer it right away. I want us to start thinking about this process. We're more so practicing the process of solving problems as opposed to solving them in and of itself, right? When we get to hard problems, we need some steps that we can follow. So I'm hoping with some extra practice on this year, that you'll have this tool in your pocket to follow when you get to a tricky problem. Anyways, thank you for watching. See you tomorrow.